This afternoon, the Federation of Saskatchewan Indian Nations lawyer has launched an appeal to Judges Mill's decision of yesterday. We have thought about that appeal long and hard. We instructed our lawyer to launch that appeal this afternoon. And tomorrow's Legislative Assembly at Dakota Dunes will go ahead as we previously scheduled. And so that'll happen tomorrow. And at that Legislative Assembly, the chiefs will address what agenda items are to be dealt with. So that's basically, I guess, the opening statements. As executive members, we've taken an oath of office to always uphold the traditions, the law, and the customs of our people that we do serve. And so having said that, we always recognize where we get our direction from, and that's the Executive Council Indian Government Commission. So having said that, we have instructed our lawyer to launch that appeal on behalf of the FSI.
So are you still holding a non-confidence vote tomorrow?
That agenda item, as I mentioned earlier, that agenda item will be determined by the Chiefs and Legislative Assembly tomorrow morning.
What grounds is the appeal? What legal grounds do you have?
Well, again, there are many, and without getting into it, we met with our lawyer this afternoon. He has instructed us there are many different areas, but we talked about certain things, and having discussed it as an executive, we felt that we would instruct him to move ahead in some of the areas that he identified.
What did your lawyer advise you about your own status? You continue to describe yourself as interim chief. There is a court ruling that quashes the suspension of Chief Lonechild. So I'm wondering, as long as that ruling is in force, are you not simply vice chief?
Well, again, I mean, to me, titles don't really matter. I'm not big on titles. I am elected vice chief. And like I say, as an executive, we take our instructions from the Executive Council Indian Government Commission. So the rulings, the direction that they gave us back on, I believe it was August 4th, those are the directions that we continue to follow today.
Greg, I ask you a question, Morley. Why was Chief Lonechild, as he claims, locked out of FSIM this morning?
Well, I think there's two things there. Number one, someone said his keys didn't work. I don't know if it's a coding thing, it's a scanning thing. We do have the scan entrances. Why his keys didn't work is beyond me, but again, as I mentioned earlier, we didn't have the authority to let people into the office. I mean, we're still the decision of August 4th is the marching orders that we have to move forward with, and our staff and us didn't have authority to let Guy Lonechild and his staff into our office.
What about the rest of the staff, though? The 100, we've heard that there was an email telling 100 some employees to stay home and work today.
Well, what we did was we wanted them to work out of their homes. As any good company, you always create a sound, productive environment. We didn't know what to expect today, so as a result, we didn't want employees torn between not knowing who to take direction from, and as a result, we just felt in the best interest of the FSIN and our employees that we let them work out of home until this issue is resolved.
Vice Chief Lonechild being locked out and having employers staying at home. Are you sending Lonechild a message here?
No, we're just saying that we want a good, productive environment for all of our employees, and if we're not sure we can provide that it's better to be safe than sorry.
You did have an employee at the office this morning that she was standing in the lobby of your office, but wasn't letting anybody in. Was she acting on your instructions?
She was acting on the instructions and the direction we have from Indian Government Commission and Executive Council.
But those instructions have been quashed by the court. They're no longer in force.
No, well, according to Indian law and according to us, all right?
You had a lawyer arguing on behalf of the FSIN in that court hearing. If you're not prepared to recognize the court's ruling, why did you even bother having a lawyer there to argue your point of view?
We appealed the process today. We appealed the process, and that's certainly still within our rights and still irrespective of the ruling. So, again, that's up to us to appeal. We choose to appeal, and we felt that certainly we weren't disrespectful of any government's laws.
So what did your lawyer advise about the quash, the orders to quash? What did your lawyer tell you about whether the decisions of August 4th are still valid?
Well, I mean, he talked about, the ruling in general, and he talked about what the lawyer told both sides. And so at the end of the day, we had to make a decision. Do we appeal or do we not? That decision was made.
What did he tell you about the decisions of August 4th and whether you still have the legal power to comply with those decisions on August 4th?
Well, as you can appreciate, it's still before the courts, and we have to be very careful of what we're saying. Our lawyer instructed us. We talked about it to other First Nation leaders, and at the end of the day, the decision was for us to launch the appeal, which we did today.
Okay, we have time for 2 more questions. You, ma'am?
Do you think the non-confidence vote should go ahead tomorrow?
That's not a decision for us. That's a decision for our bosses, and I'm sure if that's what they want to do, they'll discuss that tomorrow morning.
Is Lonechild welcome at that meeting tomorrow?
Absolutely, he is. Okay?
All right, thank you guys for coming out.
Thank you very much.
What time is it?